Okay, guys, we're going to talk a bit about Artful Making. Let's see how good it goes. The author talks about 4 qualities of Artful Making, and they are releasing, collaboration, ensemble, and play. And he kind of sees as they play off each other. So if you are good at releasing, that leads to collaboration. Good collaboration leads to ensemble, and what the end result of an ensemble is what he calls play. So that's like products or ideas. Releasing is very bound to the individual level. Good at voicing your opinion, then we can opposing, like directing, stuff like that. A collaboration is when those ideas tries to come together. You just stop me if I'm going wrong. You kind of bounce, play with each other. And an ensemble is something that is higher than an individual level. It's a place where like things somehow become one, and you can kind of see things emerge out of the process. And the result is what he calls play.
And the play is they write about it's a feeling. It's a feeling. Both for the customer and for the team, from the collaborative team. So it's we found it a little bit difficult. It's kind of a feeling. So we were discussing it should be more like playful or not just play. It's a difficult word for us.
It's the experience for the customer in the end.
And the team, right? It's both.
It can also be faster.
The play refers to the product.
Yeah.
Only
Just
the
like
product,
in
okay.
a theater, your product would be a play.
Yeah.
So
Right.
in that way, yeah.
And one thing we talked a lot about is that it's not like you end here and then you go there. It's kind of like they play in to each other. It's like a process that goes around and around. We didn't talk about it, like he talks a lot about a theater, and we talked about in a theater you kind of have certain stages. When in the beginning you might be rehearsing and you might be developing ideas, but at some point there's this premiere, and what happens after that point is, and that might be one of the limitations or critiques, is that after that point it might be less playful. Like from that point on, it's just a repetition of the same each night. So that might be something I'm missing in his idea, is that at some point, like every artful process becomes a little bit more static.
Actually, I think that one of his main points is that the play will continue to be responsive. It has converged into a play, so like, it takes this amount of time, there are these elements in it, but every single night there's a different audience and there's different ambience and,
So it's just to what degree can these things
Yeah, so
occur?
one of the things that he talks about is that a quality of the product is that it still maintains this responsiveness, which other kind of products don't have.
Responsiveness to what?
To the circumstances of the situation, like for example, the audience might be different one night from another. One night they are laughing a lot at one joke, but then another night they are sort of totally ignoring that joke but responding to something else. And
Okay.
yeah.
He also writes that the context of this process is, as a team, you gather in any problem. If you have to have some problem solved, like you get out of your regular context and you do this, and then you go back into your like whatever you do, profession again, right? So it's as a artist, I guess, then you meet, collaborate, do the process, and then you go back again and do whatever. So it's, you don't stay together. It's, you can come from different fields or skill sets, and
Yes.
Yeah, maybe because the text is actually called Artful Management or Artful Managing or something. So we talked about like the managing qualities a manager has to have to give space for this, because it's really not about just saying, oh, we're gonna collaborate now, as you would use it in your everyday language. It's more about giving space to fail and error, and for them to try it out and collaborate with each other, but not in a normal sense, but collaboration for us, as we discussed it, is more about each individual going out of their comfort zone, bouncing off ideas, and there out comes collaboration, because it becomes something that is created between our ideas, rather than maybe saying you take part, like talking about our projects, you do the editing, I do the script. That for us in this way is not collaboration, but collaboration would be, as for example in cultural unboxing, where they had two people talking about their cultures and then making jokes, and out of that creating the script. So it's more about these ideas, bouncing off of ideas, and that becoming something that's beyond the idea of one individual. That's what we discussed.
Yeah, and for the manager to create this space of release. So
Yeah.
create this, this space where release can happen, in order to create proper collaboration and not just dividing.
Yeah, and I think what we talked about for the managers is that as a manager, you have a certain, like, we all busy and we all have things we want to do, and we have end goals we want to create, so we already know what we want to end up with. Where this process is much more playful. So from the beginning, we don't know what exactly we're going to end up with, but we know we might have a theater play at the end, and it's that, like, as a manager, allowing that space in which we don't really know what is going to happen, but at some point we're going to stand with something.
But we also talked about how there shouldn't be no end goal at all, because if there's no goal, there's not going to be the excitement and no direction in a way. So there needs to be an overall goal that everyone is on board with, but that has to be rather broad, rather than saying this is exactly the product we're going to have, but giving space to get to the overall goal in different ways. So it's not having a goal at all, because that's also not, in reality, not viable, right? So.
And I think that you mentioned the cultural unboxing videos as a good example of this. How they, so maybe you can elaborate like a little bit. How do you see the way they created, for example, their first video as a way of illustrating this?
We were talking about the way they scripted it.
Yeah.
The way they planned the videos. They were sitting together and they were kind of bouncing off ideas, throwing ideas on the table, and like all of a sudden it emerged on the board. So someone would throw in an idea, what if we did this? Oh, ha 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 ha, write it in. So that's where we saw this, like, the releasing of ideas into what if we do this, what if we do this, the collaboration of the team, which kind of then, like, I guess they said would be like an ensemble, like no one person could have just sitting and written this down on his or her own.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the scripting process of culture unboxing.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
said what they hated about each other's culture, and then they had fun, we're laughing at each other, and that's how a script emerged, which is not really just writing something, but it's just laughing about it, having fun, and like just talking, and then out of there, right, okay, this would be a good topic to talk about, maybe.
Yeah.
Cool.
I totally agree.
And then maybe a little bit like just to round off, did you have something like when you sort of reflect on this model? What are the limits of its usefulness, or where is it good to use, where is it not good to use?
If release has to empower the people in the team to come with radical ideas all the time, at some point that can be like not constructive, or I mean you just in this process you shouldn't limit the space for release. I guess it should emerge. I mean the collaboration should emerge naturally. But if you have a deadline, then you have to limit the space of release, maybe, but then it would not be releasing. Then it would be, again, structuring the process in a way that will not end up with a natural ensemble.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I think one of his main comments is main points is exactly that you are managing the rate of convergence.
Yeah.
You don't want it to converge on one idea too quickly. You want to keep it open. But at the same time, you want to have a product before deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about Daniel always, right? These, like, the circles, and then he distinguished between when does entrepreneurship starts and management, like when does entrepreneurship stop and management starts, and he draws these circles, and at some point it becomes linear. You have to have a stand-in, and then all of a sudden, like, that changes how the play functions.
Yeah.
But that's then, like, the narrow down of, like, how can we, like, the space for this to have, like, the scope of it.
Yeah. Good, fantastic. Give him a hand. Woo!